You're listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcaasst, the official podcast of jaysjournal.com and fansided.com, where we discuss all things Toronto Blue Jays baseball. We'll talk about news, rumors, and game recaps. So whether you're a diehard fan or just getting started with the team, this is the podcast for you. Here's your host, Craig Borden, with co-hosts Jason Lyons and me, Ken Alfred. You're listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcaasst.
Good evening, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to, rain-soaked version of our Thursday, what should have been getaway day in Kansas City, but we are here. We're kind of dry, at least. Jason, how are you doing over there in the other side of the country?
Yeah, if I was to go outside, I certainly wouldn't be dry. It is. It has been raining all day long, nonstop. Now, I mean, I checked out the weather report in KC there, and I guess they're dealing with some lightning and some thunder and some. The humidity is unbelievable down there right now. So I guess it's one of those light spring storms that, you don't want to be walking around in metal cleats or holding too many metal objects outside. Yeah, nothing like that. So, but yeah, otherwise, not too bad.
It's been a few hours since the Blue Jays have been playing baseball, and I don't think they're going to get back to it. I really don't, from looking at the weather report. But at the end of the day, I think there is somebody holding out a little hope that they might just be able to squeak the game in so that they don't have to worry about picking this one up later, because it's technically unofficial, only going into the top of the sixth. Could benefit the Blue Jays later on, seeing they're currently trailing 2-1 to the Kansas City Royals, who have clearly had the number of the Blue Jays for the last few days. Jason, it's been a little bit of a rough start to the week here and going into the weekend.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is I saw the majority, or at least watched the Jays in 30. Again, thank you, Sportsnet. But they gave you a pretty good flavor of what's going on. And to be honest with you, I don't think the Jays have been outplayed in any game yet in this series. In fact, I think they held the play. They just can't seem to get the extra part of those secondary runs over the plate. There was about 5 or 6 times where they had runners in scoring, 1 out or none out, and still managed to be able to get themselves into a 2-out situation and then hit a meaningless ground ball. It's nice to see, sort of the offense jumping all over the place. Dalton Varsho has been, all advertised that we were expecting a couple of years ago. He's the man. He's just bats on fire, gloves on fire. He still looks really sad every time they cut to him, but that's just him. Sorry, buddy. But yeah,
sad face.
Yeah. But it's little things like watching Vladdy pooch that ball at first base, and then that inning comes unglued. When
the whole game.
Yeah, it's little things like that where you're like, just finish the play. You're a pro, and he's made lots of good. It was his first error at first base all year, so you kind of got to give him a pass. But when it does cost you the game, you don't really. It's where you start to wonder why that's happening. It was a decently boring game, so I can see where a play like that, kind of happens quickly, and you've kind of been sitting there twiddling your thumb for a bit. But it
still hurts to lose the game that way, Jason. It's what it really comes down to. And he was wearing that one, unfortunately. That's the catch to it, and that's baseball.
Better now though than a lot of months from now. If Vladdy can keep his errors way down like they are right now, and they can keep playing. Kansas City's a good team. Like I don't know what Salvador Perez has been doing, taking whatever, but he hit a stand. The guy's like, what is he, 47 or 48? He had a stand-up double. Like, I don't think I could run from home to 2, maybe not even a straight line over the pitcher's mound to second base right now. And this guy's ripping balls into the gap and walking to second. Like, come on, man. And he looks great behind the plate. He's throwing guys out. But I think that,
this is the shocking part. He was born in 1990, dude. He's only 33 years old. He's going to be 34 here, actually, in 2 weeks.
Wolf. He doesn't wear it well. Sorry, Sal. You don't wear it well. I thought you were really old.
I thought he was older than that, too. I didn't think he was almost 34,
Yeah, we
So,
would have lost that bet, buddy. I'm glad nobody on Twitter fired out a comment on that one. We probably would have lost a bet there.
yeah, there you go.
Not to
That's
say
that
that
was.
the weird bets we
Well,
get.
the other catch is, it feels like he's been playing Major League Baseball forever. Is the other catch
He
too?
probably
I
came into
cannot
Major League
picture
team,
the
yeah.
Kansas City Royals catching without Salvador
Yeah.
Perez in.
Yeah, he's been there a long
feels
time.
like 20 years.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
So
it is what it is with that, and they're a good team. I mean, their left fielder is a stud, and I mean Bobby Witt Jr. and I mean list kind of goes on and on. They're kind of like the Orioles light, like they're
yeah.
all the talent that the Orioles do. They probably don't have the pitching, and but that's the kind of thing that comes around. If you were going to hitch your wagon to a team coming up in the next while, and you didn't like the black and orange, I mean, maybe you go to the Crown. I mean, who knows? They're a good baseball team.
But then in the midst of that, not only do they, like you said, have those young talents on that team, they also have guys like Adam Frazier that just somehow sees Blue Jays blue and turns into a bull running at a bull.
He's unbelievable, that guy, especially against the Jays.
He was batting I think $150 going into this series. And in the first 3 games, he had, I think, 2 doubles, 3 singles or something like that in just the first 2 games. It was insane. It's like, okay, great. Now he's doubled his batting average. So he always I think the Blue Jays announcers on the game last night said that he has played against the Blue Jays in his career 23 something games, and he has 21 hits.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely happens. There's definitely guys that are hotter against certain teams. And, that being said, the Royals have one of my favorite named guys in the whole league. Like, is there any name better than Vinny Pasquantino? Like,
right. And
honestly,
then the nickname on top of that, the Irish, it was the Italian Nightmare or something like that.
Oh, I hope so. That's awesome if it is. But just great
wrestling
name.
vibes.
Great name.
So, as fun as it has been in Kansas City, unfortunately, like I had mentioned, I agree with you that the fact that regardless of what's happened in this series, they did take it to school against the Padres and took that series. They'd won nothing, but that was their 4th series in a row that they won over the weekend against the Padres. So they started this road trip off right. So if you flop against this Kansas City team, the unfortunate reality is that it's not getting much easier over the next week, my friend. They got to play the Dodgers. Thankfully, it's at home. And I don't know if you saw what the Dodgers did the other night, but that was slightly local.
Well, I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. I mean, at this point right now, the Dodgers are an all-star team, and they are if they can keep doing what they're doing, they may get to a point in the season where they are untouchably ahead in the National. I mean, they are phenomenal at every point, at every position. Obnoxiously good. And it's they bought it. I mean, like they did everything that the Yankees have tried to do for years and years and years, but they're doing it the right way. They seem to be able to find people who have chemistry with each other. I feel like Davey Roberts has a lot to do with that. Like, I mean, he's just such a personable guy, and I can't imagine that he would be a bad manager at all. I would think he would probably be, and even Justin Turner has said, what a great manager that he was. But he's able to take these this ragtag group of sort of really different players and, say to Mookie, hey, Mook, we're going to play in the field. Ooh, wait, we're going to play at 2. Let's put you back in the field. Maybe go to short. Like, it's one of those things where everything he tries seems to work. And I don't know how the Dodgers do it, but they always seem to have somebody behind the guy who is the guy who's really good. Like, my son has been a fan of the Dodgers on and off for a long time. And so I get to see, a little bit of it. And if somebody will get hurt, which we'll talk about the Jays of a ton of guys that are hurt right now. But a Dodger goes down and another one comes up and you're like, oh, who's this guy? And he goes like 3 for 4. And you're like, what? And it's like, and then he has, 2 good weeks and then he disappears into the ether and you never hear from him again. And you're like, where did that guy go? And then he pops up 2 years later in Minnesota and he's terrible. So,
and to that point, I believe that something's good with the Dodgers system because they had to have a base for all these talented players to come into it. You just don't turn this on overnight. And right now, this is still a team that Walker Buehler is still hurt, and all these other guys that are on the periphery, right? For every Mookie Betts, they have a James Outman, who, by the way, I heard nothing about in prospect minor league guruism that I used to have a claim to fame on. All of a sudden he's a decent outfielder for them that plugs in. It's all these pieces that build a good team. So, Jason, we were hedging the bet a little bit in this conversation to eventually lead into Blue Jays parts. The Blue Jays are unfortunately getting dinged up a little bit already, and there's some maybe, I'd say, Major League Baseball isms that are playing into some of the stuff with the pitchers. With the enhanced pitch clock, it seems to be the pitchers are slightly getting upset that that little bit of extra time is actually the reason that they're having problems with their arms. Have you listened to any of this stuff and think there's smoke to that fire?
I think there is a bit for sure. I mean, if you rush your mechanics and you're throwing probably technically faster, if it's not more pitches, it certainly feels like it because you're compacting the time that you're doing it. You don't have that sort of secondary time to get off the mound and give your arm a little shake and grab the rosin bag and, kind of stretch out if you are, if your elbow's bugging you or whatever. You've got to engage and go. And, so I think there's probably some truth to it, but I mean, it's the same as like the league is seeing, everybody's trying to throw harder, and let's not discount the fact that also is going to hurt your arm. Like, I mean, I watched that 100%. Guy pitch for San Diego the other night against the Yankees, and that's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life. That guy didn't drop under 100 for 15 or 16 pitches or something like that. No off speed, no nothing, straight gas. Like, and by the way, did you see what his name? I can't even remember his name. All I saw was his nickname. They're calling him the gas station or the station because he's pumping straight gas. It's
that's
great.
Funny.
Another good one. But regardless, that's the other thing that's coming into play is you even watch Barrios or Kikuchi or Chris Bassett. They're all trying to throw their fastball harder. No one's trying to get softer right now. It's hard. And that's incredibly taxing on your arm. And you're only going to see more strain from there. But I mean, I think potentially the right thing to do is maybe MLB needs to give them an extra slot so that they can have an extra pitcher in the rotation. I don't know what that does for them. I mean, you don't want to be going 6 games in between starts, and you also don't want a pitcher that could be down in your minors pitching, quite a bit or pitching his regulars. So I don't know what you do. I mean, maybe reduce the games by 10 or 15 games. I mean, I don't think that would kill anybody. Like, really, honestly, you could probably go 20 games, to be honest.
You just don't understand why the pitch clock had to get less. That's the thing I just don't understand.
Yeah, I agree with you too.
Maybe it's because every game I went to last year, this is Blue Jays, minor league, anything like that. It just felt like I had a couple of beers and the game was fucking over with.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, where the hell the rest of the game goes?
Yeah.
2 hours. Where you go to a football game, maybe it's because I'm living there all day when I'm at a Buffalo Bills game, tailgating from dawn to whenever the hell the game's over.
Bills Mafia.
So exactly. I've only been thrown through so many tables. I promise that's not why I had the shoulder surgery. So, but on that note, like I said, it just seems to me there is something to that those few extra seconds that it's a full pause that you're actually maybe recomposing yourself before you gather and go for it again. Or maybe it's a little bit more rushed now with some of these pitchers because, like I said, the numbers for nuance injuries for pitching arms are crazy up, it feels like, across the board for strains, inflammations, all these kind of things. And now we're going to see Chad Green's kind of on the shelf-ish right now, along with the fact that we have, after yesterday, who actually came into the game on a critical point, Bowden Francis, and did a really good job actually writing that chip. He's now on the IL. Yeah. And just case in point, even silly things like that was Alek Manoah after a couple of starts in spring training with the shoulder tightness and stuff like that. It seems too much smoke to not be a fire to me.
Yeah,
in Major League Baseball in general.
I agree with you. I do say this. I will say this, that I feel like the MLB is the kind of league that if as they start to see this more and more, and as people start to talk about it more and more, they actually tend to listen to the fans and the media, and they actually will, if their managers are coming to them and saying, hey guys, we need to go back to what it was, and we're just risking too many arms, they'll do it. They're more than willing to take a chance on things. They're more than willing to implement rules and change rules to try and make the game better, which a lot of leagues should take, heed of. But again, I mean, sometimes you screw up, and, that's what you're looking at is this is probably a screw up that hopefully they can justify and move on from. I mean, it's not that tough to make the change back. They're all used to it. No one was, you're not a 16-year-old coming into the league and this is all they're all used to it. So my advice would be to go back, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, I don't maybe have as much confidence in the whole fact that they're going to fix it anytime soon, because other than if that was the case, that the Major League Baseball jerseys still would not look like shit.
Oh God, they're awful. Some of them are so bad. I feel so bad sometimes when a guy turns around and you're just like, oh Lord, like
it's like, and would you zip your fly? Oh wait, that's just how it looks.
Yep, just a license to sell hot dogs.
I'm very thankful that the Blue Jays jerseys, at least most of the time, they've been wearing the home blues instead of the whites.
Yeah,
so at least
everything white
like
looks awful.
The solid colors, the white ones are horrible, and it's like a see-through, horrible, like you said, a sausage factory at that point. So, but in roster moves, though, like I said, Bound Francis did move down to the IL list here for the 15 days with forearm extensor tendonitis. Don't know that one, but it sounds very technical and doesn't sound like a good time of any level of
completely made up. It's either real and not good, or made up and.
But Blue Jays are going to get a lefty in their bullpen for a little bit, and Brandon Little, and he's done a decent job in Buffalo for a very good Buffalo Bison's team, and that's where I want to steer this conversation, Jason. This offense has been struggling to find themselves. We saw the Kevin Kiermaier go on the IL here in the last couple of days, and they brought the hottest bat probably in all of Blue Jays system outside of maybe Dalton Varsho over the last week in Addison Barger. We saw what he was doing this spring. He has completely ransacked International League pitching in AAA to the tune of 20 RBIs already this season. Yeah. And that's also peppering in plenty of home runs and showing thunder at the plate.
Yeah.
We saw in his first at bat yesterday that Kansas City ballpark was probably one of the few ballparks that would have actually held that ball to center field.
Yeah. And it was crushed. Like the thing that I like about Barger, and I've said this before on the show, and I'm going to remain a fan of his. And I don't know if you were privy to the conversation that Buck Martinez had with Barger about why he swings so hard. And I feel this is interesting. I know we don't have a ton of, I mean, there are some kids that I know that do listen to us, and, thanks to all the kids on my baseball teams and stuff that I coach for still, sticking with us and listening. But
get in those comments, gang. Come on. Tell us what we're wrong on.
The big thing for this is Barger, if you can believe this, was a very undersized kid. He got his size came to him very late, somewhere between 16 and 18, he really started to have his body change, but he was always a really, really, really good contact baseball player. So what he had to do was he had to come up with a way, and we're just dealing with this right now because turning 13 is a hard thing. You've got some kids that have hit puberty and they're 6'2" and 190, and you have other kids who haven't.
Some are this tall, some are this tall.
Yeah. And what you have to be able to do is you still have to be strong enough to hit the ball into the gap for extra bases. I mean, it's what 13-year-old baseball is all about. I mean, you're working up to hit the ball out, and you're lucky if you do, because the parks are getting smaller as you get bigger. But the biggest thing is he learned that the harder he swung when he was going to go, the better result he had. And if you look at Bo or Mike Trout or some of the more traditionally violent swings, like although Bo Bichette's swing looks really smooth, if you ever go watch a slow-mo of it, it is violent. Like his motion from his top through the baseball is so fast and so violent. And it's like, then you go back and look at Ken Griffey, and he was very similar. He let his hand stay back, and then it was just violence. Yeah. And so what Barger does really, really, really well is his bat speed through the zone is incredible. He's able to stay on the ball through a long plane because he's learned how to drop that shoulder a little bit and just pivot perfectly. But it's follow through and finish. His follow through and finish are incredible. There's some of the like him and Bryce Harper. If you watch the two of them, they finish so nicely and so aggressively that'll give you sometimes that extra 5, 7, 10 feet, that you need to get a ball out of a park. And I think Varsho hit one the other night that went out at straightaway center field, and his finish was violent. Yeah, like he finished it and almost fell over. And great, awesome. Like that's what I love to see. I love to see guys. So Barger has now grown into a unit, and he still hasn't changed his swing at all. So I mean, he's gonna get his. Like if you pitch him in the zone, he's gonna get you. And I mean, like if we're going to keep talking about the Buffalo boys, I mean, Martinez is on fuego. Like, I mean, the guy is on he's interstellar right now.
Yeah. He has hit 6 home runs in his last 7 games. Just saying.
Goofy.
Just to throw this out there to the ridiculous level of what it is. One of those went 469 feet.
Unbelievable.
That's not getting a piece of it.
Yeah, getting all of it. It's getting some of the next.
Yeah, some of the next.
Maybe the one after.
Honestly, at the end of the day, if Orelvis Martinez had more outfield experience, I think he would be on this roster right now. I think it's funny reading through Keegan Matheson's articles and stuff before the show about how good Martinez has been. The fact that we have 22nd baseman on this team right now is not helping Orelvis Martinez. And I think that's slightly odd and off because Martinez is a decent third baseman. And right now, if you look at the production we've been getting at third base,
it
ain't so hot.
Yeah, I mean, I think IKF has been pretty good defensively. He's made a lot of really good plays defensively. Barger is equally as good defensively. I would trust him there. Right. I trust his bat at this point. It's weird to say, but more than IKF's, I would say. IKF isn't making enough money for me to worry about sitting him in my book. My big things right now with the Jays is I would like to see Martinez come up, even if he isn't as seasoned in the outfield. We've got a Springer who is I feel like he's a little hurt. I don't know what it is, but he's skating gingerly.
Right.
He's skating gingerly through the neutral zone very often. He's not running full clip. He's not going full clip. He hasn't for about a week. But I mean, if you're looking for offense, which they're so brutally in need of right now, I mean, give Martinez a chance in the outfield. I mean, I don't know if you also heard, but Barger was I mean, Barger's an infielder. We all know that, but he got moved to right, and he's been playing right in Buffalo. And apparently he's been crushing it in Buffalo. And he was like, I really like right field. Had I known sort of a couple of years ago, I would have asked to play more right, or I would have, at least tried to play more right. And then they put him in left.
We saw how well he can do left. He ran literally through a wall the other night.
He pooches that triple, which, I mean, it's going to happen in your debut. And then he makes a beautiful catch a couple of innings later. He didn't look foreign out there at all. I mean, it's, it would have been nice to see him be able to play today, but.
That's right. I'm looking forward to him getting his first real major league swings here and get a chance to do something well. And I do think he has every opportunity here while Kevin Kiermaier's on the IL. And I'm wondering if they're using that as an experiment to see how well he transitions to make that next call to bring in Orelvis Martinez up.
Maybe, yep. Maybe.
Because the other fun part about this is Barger played third base too. So
he's got a cannon of an arm
everywhere. Yes. Yeah. And that was remembered last year before Matt Chapman all of a sudden finally found his slumber and was able to hit for 1 month of the season. Everyone was wondering why Addison Barger didn't come up with the team because he had an insane spring training. Mm-hmm. He ended up having a good minor league season, but he was hurt a lot of the year. It was the productive building blocks that to his credit, got him where he is currently right now, sitting in a Blue Jay dugout waiting for the weather to break because he might actually get into this game if they actually ever can actually get the thing going back up. But to that point, I do think that they need to do something at third base. I like you said, I have liked what's going on with IKF. I think he adds some good pieces to this team. But to me, the problem is this is the difference. I'm going to go back to Angry Bird Jays here for a second. And I'm going to say this is the difference between having somebody like John McDonald play second base for a few games or have Aaron Hill in that time frame play.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very similar.
Oh.
It's interesting. The Jays are mirroring that angry Jays look, lineup, and feel right now. There's still one game over 500. They've got a lot of looks like that. Like they've got a lot of weirdos and odd mixes and like. I still like Danny Jansen. I don't know what's going on with that guy's look right now, but whoever his stylist is, they need to be fired. And I mean,
don't worry, he'll shave it mid inning one of these days, and it'll change all up.
He's like sideburns and a big bushy mustache. That's in it. Like he's got his catcher's mask on, and you can see it like coming out the side like this, like a party favor. But
he's been getting in a Romano's shaving kit or something. It's just making sure it's as puffy as possible. One thing I didn't know when I was looking, I didn't notice this until I just happened to be looking up at the screen here with the Buffalo Gang's hitting statistics up. The 21 RBIs for Barger pop off the page in this equation, but the fact that he actually was basically 50-50 for walks to strikeouts, 14 walks, 15 strikeouts. And then the other part that I didn't notice when I was looking, I knew he had a few home runs. He had 10 doubles.
Yeah.
In those 19 games.
Yeah.
So the average year part, what you were talking about with the power, those are the things that in a ballpark like Kansas City at the major league level turn into easy doubles when you get in those big gaps and things like that.
One of the things that I was just reading as well is so they were talking last night that Martinez and Barger are in the top 10 for exit velos over 105 miles an hour this year which is insane. And then they were saying something to the effect of Barger's average distance on those doubles is like well into the sort of 200-foot range. So they're blasted into the gaps, and he's almost been out on a few of them because they've been hit so hard that the fielder's able to get to them, and he doesn't think it's going to happen. So he's running for two, and he's got pretty good wheels for a guy his size. So I mean, it's impressive to watch. I mean, it's the guy's an athlete. I called him a unit.
And that's the thing. I think that with those two gentlemen that we were just talking about, with Barger and Relvis Martinez, they are athletes. I do think that if you bring Orelvis Martinez up to this lineup and play him at third base, and you still have room to get rotation for bats for Barger in the outfield, maybe a day at second or something like that, third, things like I think right now a platoon of Barger at third base and Orelvis Martinez is not that bad for them to get at bats, and then pepper him into the outfield with Kiermaier hurt. I need that catalyst, and I think some of that young 2.0 talent here could help.
And don't you think, I mean, if you're going to bring Martinez up, now is the time to do it. Like, now is the time that if he pooches a ball in the outfield, it doesn't kill you. And he's got Kiermaier on the bench. Kiermaier's a wealth of information on the bench, and let's be real. If they need to, we have to talk about Vogelbach. He either needs, he's been hitting the ball a long way, but it's not long enough to get it out of most stadiums anymore. And, the sort of, big guy on the bench joke has sort of run its course, I feel like. And he either needs to put up or shut up, or they need to send him down and allow a kid like this to come up and start to shine. Like, I mean, I would much rather, even if you've got Martinez DHing, at least at that point, you've got somebody who's a violent threat to hit the ball out, or at least get somebody on. The Jays.
Bogey's not exactly going to be lighting up doubles. He's got to hit the ball out, or
it's a single or it's a home run. That's it. Out. There's no other option. You're out. You hit a single or you hit a home run. He could hit a ball into the gap or into the corner, and it's still a single. So, I mean, it's.
And to that point of the other fun here is like this. I think it's still biding time for the Martinez's or whoever to come up, or the Joey Votto thing that has been crickets lately. Rip the Band-Aid off now and just, like I said, get somebody like Martinez. He's already on the 40-man roster anyway, so just get him up here and let him hit and see if it continues. He had a 15-game hitting streak heading in today, too, along with all those home runs. So I'm in the ballpark of ride the hot hand and see if it'll light up this offense, because maybe that just gets the spotlight off of Bo and Vladdy for a minute or something like that, because it's Buffalo Boys 2.0 with Schneider all over again.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They can find themselves, and if they find themselves, this lineup's going to be dangerous again. But think about this way, Jason. You mentioned that we're technically a 500 team basically at this point. They haven't hit with shit.
Yeah,
and they still been finding a way to win games. And I can't say it any worse than that. They've been finding enough timely hits to be able to win ball games. And you look at the Davis Schneiders and these guys that had been, and I'll say clutch in the pieces to that. But it just is that next piece of the puzzle here. What is the igniter to this lineup? We already know we're going to pitch well. And even when we haven't pitched great, we've still been in ball games, you know, outside of like really one ball game with Gossman. Yeah, right. And the one that Bound Francis started the first time, that was it. But that aside,
we've already forgotten about that. It doesn't exist.
One handful of bad games that we were never in. So if they can find a way to get a little bit more offense, it's going to translate to more of these wins. But they have to find somewhere to start moving the needle in that direction. And I don't know if the game's coming back on right now or if they're finally killing it. But the Sports Center's finally showing Jamie Campbell and the gang back on.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. So, anyways, what do you have another idea on how this team finally takes a turn? Because I'm saying that Justin Turner can't keep this offense going on his own.
No. And wow, has he been ever? I mean, let's call a spade here. Like, I mean, Big Red has been absolutely unbelievable. He's just a machine. And like, he's been taking, pitchers 8-9 pitches into count, and then he just smashes one into a soft spot. And it's clinical the way that he's hitting the ball right now. And his defense, they killed it.
Yes, 5-inning finals.
So does that
I don't know if that means they're gonna have that. I don't think they showed it. I didn't think a game like that was actually allowed to count. I thought it had to be 6 innings.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to look that rule up, because right now it's showing the Blue Jays record as 13-13 at exactly 500, just to be fun.
Well, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? Yeah, but I mean, it's.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No. I think that there's a number of catalysts that we have at our disposal, and I feel like we have to start using some of them. And I think that Danny Burgers is the first one. And I love you, Vogelback, but you got to go. And then we start to move from there. I mean, Danny Jansen back and starting to get healthier. He's starting to hit the ball a little harder. He looks like he's in a bit, he's getting there, which is good, because Kirky seems to have dropped off quite a bit lately. Vladdy's being Vladdy right now. I feel bad for the guy sometimes, and then I just like other times you're like, wow, you're so good, and then you're so bad. It's a mixed bag. Varsho is hitting so well and playing so well in the outfield. I feel like he kind of, spurs the team on. But I mean, I don't think overall, that they need to get they need to make some sort of an attempt here. They need to try something right now. Why not? What if you go on a 6 or 7 game heater with Martinez in the lineup and Barger in the lineup? Then, I mean, or on the flip side, what if you lose 2? You've just done that to KC with not a great lineup. 3 now. So, take a chance.
Yeah, they have to do it this way. I really think of the way this lineup is constructed, outside of I'd say the guys who are really paying. I think they really have to just find the guys that they can go with a hot hand. Schneider's hot for a week, ride him until the wheels fall off. Yep. Barger's the guy. If IKF is one of those ones that just finds it and just has a monster week, I'm not opposed to that. And I don't think it's out of the cards. But I think this team is, if they're going to be successful, I think they're going to have to find a way to balance those guys and find a way to plug them in and insert them in the right times. And I can't say it's because of pitching matchups with the bullshit I watched the other night with Vogelbach and in the 6th inning still. Yeah. But with the offense struggling the way it has been, that was the opportunity there to strike. And I think you had to pinch hit with Vogelbach and the whole planning for the future with they have more righties in their bullpen. I don't give a crap. I really don't. You have to right now. This offense is flat. There's got to be a way you take an opportunity when you can take it. And if you don't take it at those points where you could have, you're going to get more losses than you're going to get W's because you can't just mash everybody every week. That's not how it's been in Toronto Blue Jays baseball for a few years now.
No. But I think that the Dodgers series presents a whole new kettle of problems, and so maybe they'll be more willing to look at something like that. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. They've got, what do they have? Do they have a couple of days off? I think, and then 25th. No, they'll start right into the teeth of the lion.
The plan was that today was getaway day and it was a 1:00 starts or something like that. So the idea was they were going to get home at an appropriate time. I'm assuming that's honestly why they probably just finally called the game, seeing it's 7:30 over here on the East Coast.
Yep.
And they have a 7:00 game tomorrow against the Dodgers at home. It's also like Hello Kitty night or something like that, which I thought was hilarious because they have Ohtani there that night.
Well, I mean, know your audience, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and to that point, I thought that is going to be one of the storylines that we're going to be talking about this weekend with the Blue Jays and the Dodgers going at it. The Shohei Ohtani stuff with the flight gate and all that other stuff that was going on, along with the highway robbery that he's supposedly dealing with, and all these other pieces to that puzzle. But my assumption is the Blue Jays fans are going to let him have it a little bit. I don't want them to exactly at the same because it's player doing what is best for him and his family and all that kind of stuff. But I just kind of have I know a feeling on the blue collar level of Blue Jays fans, and I am assuming there's going to be some booze when he comes into the plate the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and I don't even know if those are directed properly. I mean, have you looked at the leaders for the entire MLB right now for batting?
Oh yeah,
lately
it's slightly nuts. Yeah,
well, it's Mookie's leading at 3. He's got a 374 average. Will Contreras is in 2 at 365, and then Ohtani at 358, and Will Smith, who I mean signed a big deal, and so it's 3 Dodgers out of 5. And then who number 5 or 4 is tied for 4 is Sal Perez. He's hitting 352.
I was going to say, is it Sal Perez from our previous conversation? That one doesn't shock me because he's been playing so good. So the last time Salvador Perez was this good, I drafted him on a flyer in the 10th round of my fantasy baseball league, going, what? Screw it. Then he ended up being a near MVP. The most home runs he had in his career that year.
Shohei's hitting 358 with 6 homers and 16 RBIs, so he's doing okay.
Yeah, and I can't remember how he did the other night, but didn't he have 5 or 6 of those RBIs the other night in that massacre that happened?
Oh yeah, they killed somebody, didn't they?
The Dodgers destroyed. I forget who I think it might have been the Marlins. 22 something.
Yeah. Yeah, Mookie's got 6 homers, 21 RBIs. Will Smith,
Pro Bowler, Mookie Betts.
Will Smith only has 1 home run.
Baseball.
Yeah, he's only got Will Smith only has 1 home run, but he's got 18 ribbies.
That won't stay that way either. Will Smith has got a ton of pop in that bat.
Locked in right now.
Like we were talking about in the preseason, he's not the most. It's Mike Piazza 2.0 for the Dodgers, correct? He's a decent catcher, but he's clearly the catcher of this era. Nobody can throw anybody out. He catches a good game.
That was the other thing that right? I was going to mention to you before we came on the air is the fact that Gausman is awful at holding runners on right now. And until that changes, I mean, it's a free-for-all on the base pass. I mean, the MLB players aren't getting slower. They're getting faster. And you're even
the game's tipped in their favor right now too.
Yeah. So it's I mean, I was watching the game the other night, and in some cases he wasn't even trying. He turns his head and he's just like, I'm just going to try and strike this guy out. I'll give you 2nd and maybe even 3rd. And you're like,
it's like Richie Williams in the World Series with Ricky Henderson, man. He just didn't even look at him. Just but no, and that's a part of the game that honestly that I like with some of the Buffalo Boys stuff that we were talking about earlier too. Barger's got enough to be dangerous to at least get some pitchers dancing a little bit. Or Elvis Martinez isn't a slouch on that avenue either. I really think the Blue Jays need that edge or something to add to their game. And unfortunately, Double K going out of the lineup as far as somebody that's speedy in this lineup is not helping. But right now, if you're talking about who's the MVP of the last 2 weeks, you're looking at one person, and that's freaking Dalton Varsho. And how many people were going to say that?
Nobody
at the beginning of the season.
No, not even Craig wearing a Kiermaier jersey would have said that.
Like I said, I was hoping all the best for him. I really was, because I didn't want that to go down as one of the worst trades in Blue Jays history, because it was honestly heading in that direction. I really hope that we're finally seeing the comfortable Dalton Varsho. We might be seeing, obviously, the peak to the season here, but I'm hoping it's not a regress like this. We're getting Matt Chapman version of April from Dalton Varsho, and we're finally seeing just his grinding level of his game finally coming to the top here. Because I think you and I talked this out before. I always saw Dalton Varsho as, okay, we just traded a lot for a good player like Reed Johnson. That was the guy that I see him as. He's a guy that has the potential of batting an old school lineup at the top and grind out at bats and make it really a pain in the ass for opposing pitchers, and pepper in enough hits and RBIs and play great defense, which is exactly the best way I can say Reed Johnson's career was with the Blue Jays.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that go on at the different sort of beachheads during the season that you need to, this is an important series. Like, you're going up against, if the Jays are good enough to make it to the World Series, they're more than likely going to play the Dodgers. And if they're not going to play the Dodgers, they'll probably play the Braves. So this is the kind of series where you can't just roll over and be like, no, they're really good. They're really good at baseball. They paid them a lot of money. No, you can't. You got to try and smash them in the mouth, take 2 or 3, don't let Ohtani go off. Don't let Mookie go off. Like, if anybody's going to hurt you, make sure it's the guys who aren't making 30 million or 60 million a year, right? Make sure it's the guys who had to dig to get it. And then at least you feel like you've beaten the best part of their team. So I didn't look yet who's pitching yet for the Dodgers have Stone, Glasnow, and Grove. Glasnow's been unbelievable.
Yes.
Stone and Grove look terrible, but
they're Dodgers. They could get 3,000 runs.
And I also feel like
that. I
those
doubt it.
Two guys are 2 pitchers that the Dodgers are trying to throw at the Jays to try and right their ships. So that's where you have to go in. Both of them have +6 ERAs. You got to go in there and you got to smash them up. I don't know if
they have to take advantage of it. And to that point that you have Bassett pitching tomorrow night, and then you have Kikuchi and Gossman over the weekend here.
That's 2 or 3 you could win.
There's a chance. Like I said, nobody's untouchable. And to that point, the pitching is what's kept us in ball games. And we saw Bassett turn the corner. We've seen what looks like Gossman has figured things back out from what was obviously, like we were talking about last week, some lack of spring training fun. But his last start did look a lot better, in my opinion. The splitter was moving. So hopefully that means good things. I do think they are still up for a challenge, but the old mantra in baseball is good pitching beats good hitting.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be real here. Like, we're talking about the Dodgers like they're perennial, World Series finalists already. The Jays are 13-13. The Dodgers are 16-11. Like, it's not like the Dodgers are 25-2. It's really close, and it's funny because as much as the Jays have sort of been smashed around in the media, and every single time they have a misstep, it seems like the sky's falling, even more so this year than I've seen in past. Like, in past, there's been some, but there seems to be a real edge to it this year. I mean, it's not like they got Ohtani and this is happening.
Yeah.
We didn't get anybody and this is happening. Like, I mean, we're the same team as last year, basically, minus a few, plus a few, but nothing major. So, if the Jays are to make the playoffs and make it through a round and maybe challenge, great, awesome. I mean, that's what you're looking for out of progression, right? Like, you've still got a lot of young guys that you need to progress. And, comparatively, I don't know. Again, I don't have as much free time as I would like to have to just mess around and look. But like, I don't even know who has the best record in baseball right now and what it is. Like, is anybody running away with it? Like, I think all those other teams came back down to earth, didn't they?
This time last week, it was the Cleveland Guardians. I haven't looked on that stat, but I will get that for you here momentarily. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, it's one of those things where, well, I mean, yeah. So like the Yankees are 17-8, Orioles are 16-8. So, I mean, but the Yankees got off to such a ridiculous start that that helps them.
It looks like it's still the Cleveland Guardians, funny enough.
Yeah.
Yes. 18-7, the Cleveland Guardians with a plus 49 run differential,
Braves
which is currently the best in Major League Baseball.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of teams challenged. Yeah. 18-7. Yeah. Like the Mariners are leading their division and they're one game better than the Jays, tied with the Rangers. Rangers are the same.
Yep.
They're in second. It's, wow, the Astros are in last, 7-19. There you go. Gotta like that.
Doesn't that make you feel good that the Astros suck?
God. The White Sox are a softball team. Oh, the White Sox are so bad.
Just to throw this out there, if the season ended somehow today, the Blue Jays are 2 games out of the wild card behind the Boston Red Sox and the Detroit Tigers.
Crazy.
So, it is what it is. But to that point, obviously, there's a lot of baseball to play, and people need to understand that. And this isn't all gloom and doom. Like I said, the Blue Jays have a lot of good things going in their direction. And it's if they can find some offense, it really would help this team out a lot.
100%.
You're looking at a team that's quote unquote in a rough spot right now, and they're almost even with their run differential.
Yeah,
and
winning series. They've won three out of the last 4 series, and
according to MajorLeagueBaseball.com, with the run differential and all the stuff that we've did, and this is taking into home and away series and stuff, they said our record should be 11-15.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So for 13-13,
they're battling at least.
Yep. So, like I said, it's only a couple more wins when you really boil it down. But at the end of the day, that just shows how good the pitching's been to be able to do that. And like I said, I do think there are levels of this offense that this is the basement that we're at right now.
Yeah,
I think there's room for improvement, and I think we can get better. But they need to find something to get back to a little bit level of consistency. And right now, throw the mud against the wall, see what sticks, right?
Yeah,
that's my first
problem. This is the time of year to do it. I mean, you've got really 2 spots during the year where you can try it. You can try it now, and you can sort of try it in mid-June. Like that's where you it's getting warmer. You've got, like the balls are flying a little bit better. You're kind of locked into a good spot in your division usually. You're starting to get into the games that are starting to mean a bit, but they still aren't like killer. Like, when you start to get into July and August, you don't really want to be taking a chance with somebody. But, if you're going to tinker a bit and you've got the availability to move guys up and move guys down, why wouldn't you do it now? It makes perfect sense. So, I know John Schneider spends his entire evening going through Jay Bird Watching every week. I know for a fact he likes a nice cognac and a cigar and just sits back with him and Pete Walker, and they share one set of headphones and listen. I know you're listening, guys. Yeah. So, give it a try. The
problem is I think that they should listen to this show just a skosh more and maybe put the calculator and the analytics away. Yeah. To just see him throw it out for a little bit. Yeah. See what happens because of the pot. It's so early what I'm wanting, right?
I'm with you.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about, my friend, going into this weekend before we dive into stupidisms and picks to click?
Not really. I mean, I think it's been one of those weeks where I haven't really been able to pay, other than the Jays games, I haven't really been able to pay too much attention. And I mean, the NHL dominates right now, so it's the first round of the NHL. As soon as it's done, everything kind of calms down a little bit. It's been
fun so far.
Yeah,
I
oh,
will
wow.
say that.
It's so entertaining to watch. I mean, it's, unfortunately the Canucks, lost to the Kings the other night. And, I'm not going to make any comment about the Leafs Bruins series. I will not. I will bite my tongue. But,
we might
it's
just
fun.
beat the shit out of each other. That might just what
Yeah,
happens.
it's fun when sports are fun. It's fun, right? Like, I mean, you even got you've got the excitement of having a game on every night, and mix the baseball in there. And I like the fact that Major League Baseball has made sure that it's marquee games. They're trying to work around the hockey games. They're at least smart enough to know that if the Maple Leafs and the Jays are playing, don't put them head to head. That no one's going to watch the Jays. I hate to say it, or very little will watch the Jays.
It would make sense.
Yeah, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, I mean, try and be smart, which MLB seems to be doing and seems to be trying to make sure they can.
I don't know if you knew this or not, but there is some level of cooperation and partnership actually between the NHL and Major League Baseball, because they actually share a lot of the same advertising and branding and stuff like that. So there's already, I can't remember, they talked about it a few years ago. That was the reason the NHL network was following the MLB network model. It was some of those kind of things. And it's like, oh, hey, guess what? We're just like it's almost like a quasi sport merger.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk picks to click, my friend. I got the scoreboard here, and unfortunately, I think we need to hurry up and get back to actually having a consistent night here, because this guest spot is really starting to take off. Because I don't really think I can argue that they had Dalton Varsho carry over from last week because they won.
I think we got to scrap it. So,
but anyways, that's what happened last week in Blue Jay baseball. I had Turner, you had Vladdy. We gave Ken Davis Schneider because he was the roughest starting player in the lineup last week over the past week in Blue Jays baseball, which is the default. So unfortunately, the rule we made last week, this means that Dalton Varsho would carry over again. Jeez, because the guest won. And we didn't have a guest here to pick something else. I know, it's like I said, we got to hurry up and get back to a consistency so I can
we could almost give it to you. We could almost, there's nobody here. It's just you and me. We could almost give it to you.
Yeah, at least, JT did have a good week, but he didn't have 5 ribbies like, Dalton Varsho did. 2 home runs over the last 7 days.
Good test for Ken, to when we come back next week and be like, oh, Kenny, the guest spot lost. We gave it to Justin Turner. And go, what? See if he's listening.
Yeah. So the roughest performers in Blue Jay baseball for Kenny, because he has his birthday. Happy birthday, Kenny!
Happy birthday, Ken!
We're gonna stick you with Ken Biggio this week.
Let's give him Kirky. Give him Kirky. He loves the maple beef.
And he loves Alejandro Kirk.
Yeah, let's give him the beef.
I was looking at guys that at least played most of the games last week, and Kirky only got into 3 games last week.
Oh, really? Well, maybe not then.
Biggio got into 5.
Okay, we'll give him Cav.
Okay. We always know that he's good for a random one anyways. So your pick, sir. Who do you think is going to be the best this next week?
My son Jet is sitting here in the room, and I'm going to default. Who's my pick to click from the Blue Jays this year? This week? Who's going to have the best week? One guy. Just give me one guy. That's all I need. Ernie Clement. Oh, he's going Ernie Clement.
Oh, well, he's off to a good start today. He got the only ribby the Blue Jays had. So that's actually funny enough. The second time you've picked Ernie.
I like him.
He's a good pick.
I know.
He's over the past week, he's done pretty good. Got into 4 games, batted .375 with 4 ribbies, so that's not so bad.
The Clement, couple of Clement
one
boots.
less than the guy that won. He just didn't have 2 home runs to go with it. I think this is going to be Danny Jansen's coming out week. I really do. I think it's the post. He's settled in past the injury.
That's a great pick.
I think that's a great
pick. Yeah, that's a sneaky good pick for Jano.
I love Danny Jansen. Still been one of my favorite Buffalo Bisons that I'm waiting to fully put together at the major league level. I know he can do it. Stay in the frickin' box, man. No more bad luck, because that's really what it has been. So to end the show, I'm going to have a little fun at the Yankees' expense over the past week. Did you happen to see
Brett Boone?
The Brett Boone. Or, sorry, the Aaron Boone.
Yeah, Boone, right. That's what I meant.
So in the midst of this whole thing, brother Brett, actually, funny enough, actually does a podcast these days too.
Yeah, that's why I said it. I happened to be watching a little bit of that today.
That's too funny. So, anyways, I'm gonna put this up on the screen here, and this is
glorious, by the way.
for the baseball fans that have not seen this. Aaron Boone is doing Aaron Boone things. Is about the best way I can say it. I'm good. I'm done. After he's been chirping at the umpire repeatedly.
Yeah.
The best thing is some Yankee fan in the stands must say like "fuck off, ump" or something like that. And he tosses him.
It's like it wasn't even me. It was this guy here. Like, and they're pointing
exactly.
Right at the guy, and the guy's like, "Wasn't me."
So at this point,
it's right there.
Nobody's known what's going on. The Yankees announcers are flipping out, and he's like,
"These guys are laughing
right there.
Look at the guy's laughing." Oh, it's the guy in the blue shirt. He's got his arms up even.
It was 100% that guy with the blue shirt and the sunglasses right behind home plate, pounding a beer right now.
So good. But I mean, I think
these guys in the stands there, right there.
Yeah. I think it speaks to the fact that Aaron Boone's such a jackass, though. Like, I mean, like he doesn't even get the benefit of the doubt. Like the ump's just like, "Oh, that's definitely him." Like there's no doubt about the fact that Aaron. Yeah.
How many times you get ejected for stupid stuff, Aaron? No big deal. Sorry, bye. This time, finally, maybe you'll keep your mouth shut this next time. They get to finally showing I'll say the autopsy report here of the gentleman in the stands screaming at her. Because you just see Casey Windelstadt was done. He wasn't dealing with it. I'm out.
So good.
You can just have a nice day. But he was sitting there quiet. I'm done. And then, wait, what are you talking about?
I didn't do it.
It's that guy in the
What's that guy?
shirt.
What's these guys? Who's this guy over
here? What are you talking about?
There's that guy in the green shirt. There's that lady with the red hair.
He was doing his best Harrison Ford. It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man speech.
Yeah.
So,
oh Lord, that's good.
Just slightly obnoxious, and to all things baseballisms. That's one that was a good blooper for the in the recent history of baseball that literally got ejected for the fact that your own fans can't keep their mouth shut.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
So, on that note, anything else?
Not a thing, buddy.
All right. So, Blue Jays fans, Thursdays evenings are going to be our new night. We're going to try keeping this track going so we can actually get some people back on the show. I apologize for all the scheduling fun that we've all been having lately. Make sure you tune in next Thursday to the live show. I see a ton of you in the chat. Please say something. There's no way in hell Jason, me, and Ken are always this right that y'all can't mention something in those chat windows to be able to not have something to throw into the flame here for us to chit-chat on. So please get into these conversations. Next thing, it's almost the end of the month. So next Friday, so not tomorrow, but next Friday is our contest winning night for our TikTok follow. So make sure you join us tomorrow night along with next Friday for the announcer of who's going to win the most recent prize on our TikTok follow contest. Make sure you get over to TikTok before, especially here in the States, they do something stupid and get rid of it in the next 9 months. But to that fact, all you have to do to enter is follow and be in the US or Canada when I message you as one of those potential winners, and you will get a Blue Jays Jay Bird Watching gift pack, depending on what this fun wheel behind me gloom or dooms for you. Yep. Yeah, Jason got his giant pack of I think I sent you 80 of those things from my 3D printer. That's the big grand prize right there if you're a Blue Jay fan. I have been very nice to the fans that have been not Blue Jay fans that just like the baseball card openings. I actually, funny enough, sent a Brewers one of those recently, Jason, to some guy in Washington.
If you made me one of these from every team, I would gladly take them. They're awesome. You can put them up on, like, they hang nice. I've got a little hole in them. You can hang them nice. You can get a little Velcro thing and put it on. I would easily take every one.
Yeah, and the fun thing about them is they're actually made to be light boxes. So that front screen is actually meant to be, you pop it open and you can put LEDs in there that kind of like act like a light.
Yeah.
Light box. But the nice thing is, like I said, you want to hang it on a wall, just drill a hole through the back of it and you're done.
Yeah.
Or if you just want to, Use it to put candy in and be like an old lady. I don't know.
Or you can make like a sick necklace, like one of those big gold chain necklaces that they have at the hockey games.
Put it on a spinner and have some fun with it. You know, kind of like my little guy.
Live a little. People, get out and live a little.
My 3D printer too. The 3D printer is behind the monitor up here. This thing.
Awesome.
So, anyways, Blue Jays fans, like I said, Friday Night Packs on TikTok, along with giving us a follow there. We'll make sure you are entered. That's simple. At Birdwatching GC, or just type in Jay Bird Watching Podcast on TikTok. Follow, entered, done. So, on that note, we are the official podcast at jaysjournal.com, part of Fansided.com. Wherever you can get your podcasting pleasures from, I promise you can find us here at Jay Bird Watching every week. And until then, it's that simple. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Let's go, Blue Jays.
Aaron Boone.
Thank you for listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, at BirdwatchingGC, and our YouTube channel. If you want to support the show and get extra content, please consider joining to our Patreon at patreon.com/birdwatchinggc. Go Jays, go.